Money is made possible by financial support from Old National Bank and Chicagoans like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to In the Money. I'm your host, Kimberly Loftus, a CPA and financial executive who today is financially secure, but was not always. When I was young, I wanted what the popular people had. In my time, it was bomber jackets and gold rope chains. Neither I nor my family could afford to have the latest styles, so I cobbled together what I could. Dynasty, the TV show, was popular in my day, which showed multi-millionaires in their luxurious homes, yachts, vacations, and clothes running things with old family money. I realized it was just a make-believe show, maybe a few people living like that, but then came MTV Cribs, which showed people, mainly celebrities and athletes, living a dynasty life but with new money. I never pictured myself being famous, so again, just a fantasy. Fast forward to today, we have TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram showing average people the fabulous life is within your reach. Then it was Sheila E., and now it's Jack Harlow telling us how to live the fabulous life. But why do we have this need to be like the Jones, the neighbor or celebrity who has it all? Where does it come from? I know in my case it was more about basic survival, and then once I got past that stage, it was just wanting to have a couple of things that I couldn't have before. I was able to be successful and not go overboard, but I got clowned all the time by not having the latest and greatest. But I choose to spend my money in other ways. Why is there a need to live the fabulous life? Well, in the living room today, we will talk about the why and how we can balance the pressure, because we don't want to end up in bankruptcy like Tony Braxton and MC Hammer spending money they didn't have. Today in the living room, we have a guest who understands the psyche of people. She is here today to explain what drives us to pursue the fabulous and how to recognize we are one of those people. Please welcome licensed clinical social worker Tamika Hill to the show. Tamika, thank you for joining us today. So what drives us for that fabulous life?
Sometimes I would say from survival, right? When you have minimum growing up, and you desire more because you see all these beautiful things on TV, as you were speaking about earlier. Desire to have those things will, everything, once you get grown, of course, and can afford things, the shiny objects attract you.
Mm-hmm. Is that kind of like diamonds, like we as Americans are really particular about diamonds instead of other gems that might be even more valuable? We like that shiny, bright.
Because actually, if you think about it, we were taught diamonds are like top tier in America, when actually, like you said, could be more with other gems, but because diamonds represent rich, fabulous, and money.
And they're not rare at all, like
No.
we think that they are, but they're really not.
No.
So it all goes back to your childhood or something that happened to you as you get older, but it doesn't seem to affect everybody the same. I came up as I was raised with, not a lot, but I know my family really valued like having a house and, furniture, things like that, but not necessarily like clothing. So that's probably where a lot of it comes from. So how do you balance that out?
I think actually, just like you just said about your family, a reflection of what you just said is a reflection of who you are today, right? Because you value those things because they were instilled in you. So again, when you think about somebody's young who is desiring these things, it's usually because somewhere in the household, there's people living above their means, and this is where they're picking that up from as well. Even though, like, the joke is how people are going to Florida and then they're coming home and their lights are off.
Right.
Kids recognize those things.
So what about the person, you have a great job, you make good money, but you're overspending? It's not enough to, pay all your bills, and you could have some nice things that you go overboard. What would you say to a person like that?
How to first identify if you're that person. Like, most of the time they're going to see overspending on their credit card. Their credit card is usually always maxed out or close to it. They're always paying minimum on credit card bills. That's the first sign that you're overspending, right? But just because you have the money doesn't mean spend the money. But also you got to think that person probably has something deep rooted from childhood that says like, oh, I couldn't afford these things, so now I'm going to buy it and because I can afford it.
So I remember a guest previously saying that spending made them feel better. So can we delve into the emotional side of why people want to appear like they have the fabulous life?
Oh yes, it's almost like a high, right? The high is going and buying all these things like it's almost like you're a out of body experience, if I had a better word. You go in, you're spending money like you're in your mind this rich person who could buy all these things. And so you're living in a delusional world. But then you come home and you see the bills and, then that's when it hits that whole depression cycle. You're up when you're spending, you're down when you get the bill.
Now, what about the people who envy their neighbor? In this case, we're saying the Jones, the next door neighbor who has a nice car, they have a nice house, their kids look wonderful in the latest and greatest fashion. We're assuming they're doing great, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But so it's not about how we grew up as a child, but it's our envy. Where does that come from?
Even with envy, think about it. You're only envying what you feel you don't have, right? And usually when you're thinking of children, you go into school and say one kid has the latest Jordans always, so they're popular because of what they're wearing. And that's where the envy starts, because you normally want to hang with the in crowd. The in crowd usually represents those materialistic things.
So if I'm envious of my neighbor, what could I do to turn that around so that I can be happy about what I have?
It's learning to be happy where you are, but first identifying where that, I'm going to call it trauma came from, because if you don't know where it came from, you can't fix it, obviously, right? And feeling like what other things can you fill that void with versus things.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for that?
Yes, I always tell people, write down anything you wanted to do in life. Just write it down. Put everything, cut them up, put them in a bucket, and pull out that thing, whatever that is, right? So if you wanted to learn sewing, and you may not have the money for the class, however, because we have media, right? You can YouTube anything, TikTok or Instagram, like start small, but put things in a hat or whatever, just things that you would want to learn, even if, or you wanted to do. So if you wanted to go to Paris, how could you start getting there where you're at in the present? But also I do believe in therapy. So I believe first you got to go to therapy to see like, is this just a void I'm feeling, or is this more behind this?
Okay. Now, in today's world, we have a lot of social media that did not exist. I mean, no social media existed when I was younger.
Right.
And so with the recent announcement from the Surgeon General for the United States saying that social media is a threat to children, what can we do also for them suffering from depression because they can't have what they see on TikTok or Instagram?
Control the media. Control what your child is watching. I do understand that there still will be exposure because they're going to school with other people, but you have to like show them how to have fun with what they have and be happy with what they have, because kids learn from us. So if you're like me, I still like board games because we played them when I was younger. But if you didn't play that when you're younger, then, of course, when you're older, you're looking for something more stimulating, I guess you could say. You have to like work with your kids at home and be involved with them. And
so you can't let the social media babysit the kid. You actually got to be active to want them to get off the social media and be engaged.
Yes.
Now, what would you tell a kid? So that's for the parents or the adults. What about kids? What can we help them with if they're watching the show to help them manage what they want because of what they see on TikTok and social media?
Well, you would start with like being realistic with kids, honestly, right? Depending on the age range, and they get an allowance and they start wanting those things, let them go try to buy it. That teaches you real quick to, because they don't want to spend their money.
Right.
And they could have the amount to pay for the Jordans, the Dunks, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to spend it. Because once they start realizing like, I don't know if I want to sacrifice Uber Eats all week for one pair of shoes.
So they have to start making choices because they realize funds are limited. And then, not saying that you watch all the social media, But can you give any tips for people who are watching social media to realize that this is a fantasy or make-believe versus reality? Because a lot of times people are out there and they're really not living the fabulous life.
Oh yes, that's something I'm always having to deal with in therapy sessions because women romance the things they see on, the social media. One thing I always tell them, the example I always use, how many times does it take you to post a picture take a picture before you post a picture?
Explain that.
So most people don't just take a picture and post it. Most people take about 20 pictures, if not more. They crop it, they highlighting it, they putting something on it, taking something off to get that perfect angle to pose as if they got skinnier or if they got whatever.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And so that person's putting in all this work to create this image of a fabulous life. And that, everything's not perfect. You can still have a lot of money and still be unhappy.
Oh, yes. About like with trips, I always tell people, okay, yes, you do see them taking all these pictures. Most people who have a lot of pictures on their social media, they're not living in the moment either because they're too busy posting the moments. So most of them aren't capturing in real time and enjoying because they're posing for the media.
So in today's world, how can I live in the social media? Everything is fast, everything's coming at you, you can't avoid it. What would be the best advice you can give somebody to be able to maintain who they are and spend within their means based off of the mindset of what we're in today?
The first one, cut your social media time. They do have all kind of apps now that tell you how much time you're spending on social media. I recommend that for kids, adults, everybody, because even if you're not consciously aware of it, subconsciously you'll pick up certain things without even knowing it. So you have to monitor, especially like TikTok, right? Because TikTok is so easy because it's a video, boom, next. And you're watching it 4 hours before you know it. So I always say monitor your time of how much you're putting into social media because that will cut down some of the delusions we have in our head because now you're cutting down the time you're spending in this fantasy world.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tamika, for those great tips and insight on social media and living the fabulous life. Next up, we have Rebecca, who's going to give us some styling tips and beauty secrets on a budget so that we can still live the fabulous life but not spend all our money.
Hi, I'm Ryan G. I'm the host of Tweeners. This week on Tweeners, we'll be talking about dance with my dance teacher, Miss B.
I enjoy skating, yes. So it's never too late to find a new hobby.
You can catch my show Friday nights on CanTV 19, cantv.org, and the new CanTV Plus app.
Today in studio, we have Ben Juergens, Director of Financial Empowerment, who will explain to us how to know if you are living beyond your means and how to stay focused. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you for having me, Kimberly. It's good to be back.
Great. So as you saw, we're talking about the fabulous life and maintain a budget within that fabulous life. How would I know that I'm living the fabulous life but can't afford it?
Yeah, I mean, the fabulous life looks great, right? And those Joneses apparently make a lot of money. But what I've noticed a lot of times where people are in that and not realizing it, there's some key things we need to look at. Number one, if they're living paycheck to paycheck. Number two, maybe their credit scores dropped. I see a lot with, I'm not able to contribute to my 401k, or I'm not putting money in my savings and it's not growing. The biggest thing, it seems like, is we see that people will be using that credit card for everyday expenses that they need to get in life, not just the once. And when we start doing these types of things, it's probably in a direction that we're going somewhere that we shouldn't be and keeping up with those Joneses.
Can you explain what you mean by living check to check?
Yeah, so if I have to wait, if I get paid on Friday, for example, and I get through my monthly bills that I have to for that particular week, and really I'm relying on getting that next paycheck. I don't have the money in savings. I really just rely on that check every single week to be able to make ends meet. So kind of, making it break even almost without being able to make it to that next payday and having money left over.
So what happens if something happens and I temporarily hurt myself and I'm not getting that check? That means I'm going to go in further debt, or I won't be able to pay my bills?
Yeah, I mean, most likely that's probably the case. If I haven't taken the time to develop an emergency fund, right, which is that emergency that you just mentioned.
Right.
And when I don't have that, most likely I'm probably going to use that credit card as my emergency fund. And the bad part is, even though it may be for a specific emergency that month, in our minds sometimes we're going to justify to ourselves that we need this to get by on other things. So we don't want to have that be a regular habit of spending when we should be building that money in the emergency fund.
So now I realize, wait a minute, one of those things he just said applies to me. What should I do?
Yeah, so I think for one, we just really need to realize where our money's going, right? And what are we building this lifestyle to be like? And while we might see somebody on the outside looking like they're doing really well with a big house, a fancy car, we really don't know what it looks like on the inside. Maybe there's 2 or 3 mortgages against the house. Maybe they are dealing with depression. So we have to realize, what do we want our lifestyle to look like and what are our priorities in life? And I think that's the biggest piece. When I was single, it was about me. When I got married, it was about us. And now with 4 kids later, our priorities change. And I think we as individuals have to accept that and realize, are we building a lifestyle for what we desire or really one that benefits our needs of the way that we want to live our life?
Ben, we always learn so much from you. Thanks again for being here. Stay tuned for more right after the break.
Hi, I'm Connie Lindsay.
And I'm Anna Valencia.
Join us on Joy in the Breakthrough, a podcast where we'll be talking to a wide range of leaders from different generations and backgrounds who have found power in being broken open.
Tune in every week on CAN TV Channel 19, streaming on cantv.org, and on the new CAN TV Plus app.
Tamika has helped us understand why we admire and want to be like the TikTokers and other influencers, which is the first step in overcoming this need to chase the fabulous life. Now in the living room, we have someone who can give us some ways to be fabulous without breaking the bank and who helps me look like I woke up like this, makeup entrepreneur and stylist Rebecca Gaspard. Welcome to the show, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited.
I know, I'm here. I'm on the other side.
Yeah, so give me some tips because I look like this because of you.
Yes.
And so give me some tips on a budget of how I can be fabulous.
So sometimes I like to buy dupes of things. Like I'll look at like designer handbags and then I'll see like a remake online. And so I'll buy that, or I'll do my nails at home. I learned how to do a lot of things, do my hair. So I think if you can do a lot of things at home, it saves you a lot of money, but you can still get those looks.
So if you are not the most talented person doing these things, so how did you learn how to do your own nails, so to speak? Did you look at videos or do you have a steady hand so it's easier for you? I mean, how did you learn that?
Well, I do have a steady hand because I do makeup, but just practice. I think when you start practicing and doing it over and over again, you just ultimately get better, and then you want to get better because you want it to look good. So just practicing and maybe watching YouTube videos, or when I go to like get my nails done or a facial, I pay attention to what they're doing and I try to just do the same thing at home.
I know back in the day when I used to do my own nails, I was really messy, but then I got those pins and you kind of clean them up. So even if you're not the most steady-handed person, there's ways to clean up after the fact. And you can do that with makeup as well, right? You kind of clean up stuff. So someone who's not as steady could do that as well.
Yeah, I think you just have to invest into the tools, especially like I see a lot of people are doing the Gel X at home. I think if you have all the tools and you practice, I think you should be able to get the same result.
So one example you gave was finding what I call a knockoff. You call it a dupe. It's like a purse that's similar.
Yep.
Now, do you feel like you're trying to act like that's the real thing, or you just like the style and that's why you're running with it? Like, is there a difference between trying to pass it off as something or just getting something similar because you like it?
I think the style, right? I think a lot of times we look at like celebrities and influencers and we may want the style, but we don't want to break the bank. So why not? If I can put my own spin to it, maybe I might buy an expensive jacket and then everything else might be, more cost effective, but you have that one piece to like kind of tie everything together.
So like a statement piece, like your lovely jacket.
Thank you, yes.
And then you can put that on with some different things because it's more versatile because you can use it with different outfits.
Exactly, and then you can get more uses out of it, so that way it doesn't feel like, you can only wear it one time or if it's only one season.
And then you can put that on with some different things because it's more versatile because you can use it with different outfits.
Exactly, and then you can get more uses out of it, so that way it doesn't feel like, you can only wear it one time or if it's only one season. So yeah, definitely having versatility.
And what about clothing?
Clothing. Oh, I love
Can we
shopping.
talk about the statement, please? But what else can we do? Clothing, shoes, jewelry.
So with clothing, I say try to buy basics for each season. And, you know, have your staples. Have like your good pair of boots that you might have invested in, but you wear them maybe 3 winters. And then just interchange them with different basic pieces that you might have to replace, like a white tank top or, you know, a pair of jeans that you might have ran down, you know.
You don't have to work with me because I don't even know what the basics are. So what are the basics in clothing that every person should have in their wardrobe?
I think you need to have like a good tank top, like good tanks to go under jackets and shirts. You need a really good pair of jeans. Like you need one to run around and one for like outings. And I just like good black clothes because you can just really wear them for anything.
Any other colors that they should have as a basic?
You know what I really like? I like wrap dresses because they're easy. Something like what you have on, they're easy to put on. You could dress it up, dress it down. You could put tennis shoes, you could put heels on. And then you feel comfortable. You don't really feel restricted in the outfit.
And then you mentioned boots. Any other shoes that should be staples?
I think everyone needs a good pair of heels that you could almost like run in.
I want to sign me up for those.
Yes,
heels.
no, they're good because like heels make you stand up with your posture a lot better. So if you have a pair that are comfortable and you don't feel like you're like dragging once you're done with your event, I think that's important, having a good steady pair of heels.
And then we talked about the staple jacket. Anything else that we should have in our wardrobe?
I would say a good winter coat because we live in Chicago, so you want to have, you know, a nice one that will keep you warm. It doesn't have to be so expensive, but just one that you can wear with many outfits, whether it's a color that's neutral, and because if you have like a hot pink jacket, you may not be able to wear that with like something else. So yeah, just having a good neutral.
And what about jewelry?
Ooh, jewelry is tough. I mean, I like buying statement stuff that's like maybe Swarovski crystals, or it's not maybe real diamonds, but it just kind of gives the effect.
Like that bling bling without having to be a diamond.
Yeah, but I'm not going to spend all that money for it. I just need it to be worn for maybe a few times. And sometimes I feel like, especially earrings, I always lose earrings, so I just can't. I'll never buy a pair of diamond earrings.
Now, do you feel there's a piece of clothing in your own wardrobe that just makes you feel great when you put it on, and what is it and why does that make you feel so great?
I would say I really love a good pair of black jeans because I feel like it just, and a little bit high waist as well, because I just think as your body changes, if you have stuff that can just make you feel comfortable and you can just really, I can throw a top on, I can throw, you know, maybe a crop top on, a sweater. It's just, I can interchange it anyway.
So that's your go-to comfort outfit that makes you feel confident when you walk out the door. Love it. So find it in our own wardrobe about what that piece in this, like I know someone had told me buy it in every color. Like once you find that piece, you feel good and you feel great in it, buy it in every color and you can have it in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about makeup. What can I do if I am not the best makeup person, or in my case, it's the attention to detail and it's the time.
You know, from a makeup perspective, I think concealer is like one of the most important tools that you could use because, you know, I feel like a lot of times we don't get a lot of sleep. So just hitting under the eyes with some concealer and maybe a pop of mascara will make you feel like I slept all week. I woke up like this. Good moisturizer, really prepping the skin, and just basic self-care with that helps a lot.
Now, if you wear concealer, don't you have to wear foundation too?
No, you can get concealers that, you know, that work with your skin tone. It's really important to find the correct colors. If you don't have the right shades, stuff sticks out. And then if your skin isn't hydrated, it also appears like heavy or cakey. So really just working on that base and making sure your face has like that nice bounce to it. And then the product should disappear. If the product isn't disappearing, we have a problem. It's not the right shade.
So a little bit of it too of living the fabulous life where it doesn't cost money, it's taking care of yourself. So making sure you're eating right, sleeping well, like you said, remain hydrated, and then you'll just look better just because you're living a more healthy lifestyle. True. Interesting.
Yes.
And what about hair?
Hair, oh. You know, hair is a little hard because I feel like, you know, you got to reach over and do stuff, but I think it's fun as well. So I think you just have to figure out what hairstyles last longer. For me, I wear extensions, so I'll get a sew-in. That typically can last me anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So the initial investment, you know, if you spread it over 3 months, it's something that is manageable, right? I'm not the one who's going to get my hair done every week. But so I think just finding a style that you can keep it simple. I can curl my hair, I can wash it, I can straighten it. So.
And so you, in your professional life, as a makeup artist and an entrepreneur, how do you think that these services make your clients feel?
Oh, it's life-changing, honestly. Even after the pandemic, I think we were the busiest we've ever been because people were at home, they were in sweats, they were really chill, they didn't really feel the need to do any of the stuff like the makeup. And so the moment that we were able to do it, women were flocking, like, do my makeup, I feel so much better now, I feel confident, and I feel this and that way. I don't think it's really the makeup, I just think it's the time for themselves to kind of elevate their everyday looks, which is, and it's fun. Like even putting on lashes, I feel like it just makes your eyes pop, gives you a little extra twinkle and a sparkle.
I have a little twinkle.
Yes, and it just makes you feel good. So I think, especially during the pandemic, we were just kind of just enjoying the time off, not to do much, so. Yeah.
So if there's people who have not a lot of money, people in the middle, and there's people who have a lot of money, is there makeup out there for every budget?
Oh yes, there is. I mean, there's so many drugstore options, and like I said, if you watch TikTok or YouTube, you'll see like the dupes to products, and some of those high-end products, they're made by, the same manufacturer and the same companies, so they're in the same labs, so you may be having the same product. You never know, it just might be in a different packaging, but I think it's just about like finding stuff that looks good on you, because I mean, I could wear a drugstore concealer and it looks like a YSL.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's about really doing your research, and then we're both African-American women, so skin tone is really important as far as doing that match.
Yes.
So going back to budget, in the middle, and high end, across the board, are those different shades available for women of color?
When you go higher up with higher end makeup, that's really expensive, it can be challenging to find our exact matches. But what I found is that middle ground and like the lower end products, you find your shade everywhere. So, but it's like from the manufacturing side and just like a product side, I think it's really expensive to manufacture certain products. So they make more of the cheaper products. So.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for these tips.
Yes, thank you for having
And
me.
thank you for making me look great.
Yes, thank you for being my muse.
Tune in this Monday at 7:30 p.m. on CAN-TV Channel 19 for an inspiring sit-down conversation with Alderman of the 16th Ward, Stephanie Coleman.
When you keep living, you keep learning.
Yeah.
And if you're not learning every day and how to better yourself every day, then you really aren't living.
It's easy to get caught up in the allure of luxury, the allure of keeping up with the Jones. But it's crucial to remember that true wealth isn't measured by possessions alone. It lies in our ability to make smart financial choices, to live within our means, and to prioritize our long-term financial well-being. In past episodes, we have explored the importance of setting realistic goals, creating a budget that aligns with our values, and distinguishing between wants and needs. We've witnessed the consequences of overextending ourselves, of letting material possessions define our worth. But we've also seen the power of financial literacy and responsible decision-making. So let's build on those lessons and remember that financial stability grants us the freedom to pursue our dreams, to create lasting memories, and to find joy in the simple pleasures that life has to offer. Don't let your attempt to keep up with unrealistic living standards derail you. Together, we can break free from the cycle of comparison, supporting one another and building a future filled with financial security, abundance, and peace of mind. Let's celebrate smart financial choices rather than putting someone down for not having the latest and greatest. My challenge to you is to live authentically rather than succumbing to the pressure of societal expectations, to know what is really important to you and focus on that so that we can focus on our own dreams rather than someone else's. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever heard the saying, you can't get blood from a turnip? I know it means that you can't get money from me if I don't have it. But how does this saying come about? If you know the answer, have any questions about today's topic or past topics, please send me an email to Kimberly@inthemoneyemail.com or follow me on Instagram at Diva of Cashflow. Remember, we are in this journey together.